I'd like to welcome everybody and call tonight's Committee of the Whole meeting for May 16th, 2013 to order. Can I please have the roll?
Yes. Mayor Gunther?
Here.
The clerk's here. Trustee Addington?
Here.
Trustee Barker?
Here.
Trustee Barry?
Here.
Trustee Nero will
Here.
be... Oh, he is here. I didn't see him
He's
come in.
here. He snuck in.
Trustee Scott?
Here.
Trustee Seneca? Here. Manager Searle?
Here.
Attorney Zemanek?
Here.
Police Chief Mulhern?
Here.
Public Works Director May?
Here.
Finance Director Parker will be here. Acting Community Development Director Malik. Here. Fire Chief Wise. Here. Deputy Police Chief Gunther.
Here.
Human Resource Director Casey. Here. And Deputy Clerk Collector, what's your name back there? K-Mac.
It's going to be one of those nights.
It's funny.
And if we can please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this point, I'd like to go into open forum, and I'm going to ask the clerk to call to the podium in the order she has received the request to speak this evening.
First up, we have Bob Mueller.
And I guess, do they state their name?
Good evening. I'd like to talk about an event that
Gotta
happened.
state your name.
State your name, I'm sorry.
Bob Mueller, 44 West 59th Street, Westmont. Yeah, some of the new people don't know me.
Yeah.
Most of them do. I'd like to talk a little bit about an incident that happened Thursday night, actually Friday morning at our apartment. Basically, what happened was somebody called in a noise complaint at our apartment about 2 a.m. And we were sleeping, and all of a sudden there's a police officer pounding on our door, the outside door. My partner Todd lets him in, and then he comes to our door and starts rapping on the door. And I said, Todd said, what's going on? He said, I've got a complaint. It's like, I'm sorry, when you showed up, there were no lights on, there was no noise. Why did you even bother to come in? But, basically he didn't go away, so Todd, wakes me up and says, talk to the guy. I said, go away. Give me your badge number and go away. You have no right to be here. You have no valid complaint, and there was no emergency. If you wanted to handle it, follow up in the morning. Okay, I mean, we won't go into who we think it was or her state, but it really wasn't a very good police procedure. Now, it just happened to be a weird week where we saw a lot of FOP, let's say, maneuvering, illegalities, questionable behavior, because it was a week where we had a lot of equal marriage rallies in the area. And the first one was the previous Saturday in Darner's Grove. Darner's Grove, they thought they had the right to tape the rally. The police do not have the right to tape a rally, their excuse being it turns violent. These rallies have no history of turning violent. The only time I've seen a rally go violent is when the police incite it. And I've seen an immigrant rally where it happened. Okay, so basically I had gone down on Tuesday evening to Downers Grove and addressed that issue of taping demonstrations. Because you've got to realize a lot of the people at these rallies are coming to for the first time. They're kids. They may not have even told their parents. They're just trying to find out about what they do. You do not tape these people. That's intimidation. That's inhibiting their freedom of speech and their freedom of assembly. Okay, I recommended the Downers Grove Police Department destroy the tape. I haven't heard back from them, so I guess I have to put a FOIA in to see if they have. Whether there was a connection between this and what happened Friday night, I don't know, but I've been in IT for 44 years, so you always think there's a connection. Then on the following Saturday, we had a rally in Western Springs. Boy, we only had just all the police department, 2 unmarked police cars, and another officer taking pictures. Okay, once I told the police chief they should be taking pictures, the camera went away, but let's just say the history between the gay community and the FOP is not a one where of any kind of trust. But at the same time, we got to say, look, if they hadn't beat up those people at Stonewall in 1969, we wouldn't be where we are today. So, taking that into consideration, there is no real trust of the police. But at the same time, I wish we'd get to the point where the police could just say, we made a mistake, sorry, let's move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mueller, I'd like Chief Mulhern to at least respond to it. And just to make it clear, and you referred to two other communities, there was no picture taken in Westmont. I mean, those are different situations that occurred.
Oh, no, I'm just
Okay.
trying to say,
You're trying to bring them together, but
Patty
okay.
Bellocs, but at the same
Thank you.
time,
Yeah.
if we had one there, we would not want the police.
Appreciate it. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, I recommend that the Downers Grove Council come up with some guidelines when they use cameras.
Okay.
And it might be good for every village to do that.
But we can have Chief Mulhern at least respond to the situation you're talking about in Westmont.
Thank you, Mayor. I won't go into what's Downers Grove or Western Springs because that's not my jurisdiction, and as you mentioned, that's your concern and conversation with them. I don't think this is the appropriate forum for us to discuss the incident that happened with you. What I would like to do is have you next week come to the police station. We can set up a date and time with a meeting. You meet myself and Deputy Chief Gunther, and we can discuss what happened at your residence, and then we can talk it out.
Sure,
Okay.
Would that be good? All right, appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller. Thanks, Tom. The next open forum request.
Is Mr. Balazs?
Again, if you could state your name and address, we appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Lubos Balaz. I'm living at 511 North Grand in Westmont. And I would like to discuss the problem with street storm drainage right at the front of our front yard. I'm the owner of this property. I've had to write it down because I'm not very good with the speech. So we were hit hard by the recent storm on April 18th. All of our surrounding neighbors on the Grand and Trowbridge were flooded. Our backyards were just one big lake. We lost a lot of our personal belongings and memories. The fact is, this could have and should have been prevented from happening if our city officials took any serious measures in accordance with our past complaints to the public works officials. We can document these complaints for you right now because we lost all of our files due to the flood. But the village board and public works should still have those complaints in their records. Along the street, right in our front of our front yard, there is a storm drain which is supposed to take the rainwater away from our properties and keep us safe. What this drain does is the exact opposite and spills the drainage water on properties and floods our houses. On April 17, 2013, around 4 to 5 p.m., water started gushing out from this drainage pipe without stopping until the next day around 3 p.m., continuously bringing thousands of gallons of rainwater to our backyards for almost 24 hours, resulting in the flooding of all our basements. This storm drain does not help us like it should, but it's a serious threat to us all during a storm, even if it's a small storm. We have lived at this address for 15 years now and first noticed this problem with the street, with this storm drain about 10 years ago, and we complained many times before there was no action taken. We bought this house in 1998, acknowledged that this was not a flood zone. But as we all know, now it becomes a flood zone because of a very bad and poor storm drainage system design, which protects some residents but threatens many others. We can live in our houses with a fear forever, and I think it is time for our village to take an action to protect us and our properties in the future. We did not have to be flooded this time if designers and engineers did a better job before. We were told there is nothing to be done, which I can live with that, like for forever. I mean, that's not the proper answer what we should get. There is always a resolution that can be done to prevent this happening again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you have two other, we have two other open forum requests that are your neighbors.
Yes.
So if you'd like to, we'll announce it and have all three of you talk.
Yeah.
And you know what, I do the same thing. I got my stuff on notes too, so don't feel bad about having writing. I wouldn't know what to say either, so.
And actually, your English is beautiful.
Very
so-
good, yes. You did very good. We'll call up the next, and then we'll respond to all three of you, if that's okay. So we'll have the next open forum request.
It's from Shiborowski.
My name is Carolina Pshiborowski, and we are residents at 507 North Grand Street, and we're neighbors with Mr. Ballas. And I specifically want to address the detention facility or retention pond that's behind the police station. We've been having issues with the pond for quite some time, and we've tried contacting the engineering department, and we had Mr. Noriega come out in 2012 and take a look at it because we thought that there was an issue with it because our properties are basically flooding even in the smallest of storms. There's water sitting in our properties, as well as the soil from our yards is just all going into the pond, which is causing a lot of soil erosion in our properties. It's causing foundation cracks to our homes. We have at least 4 in our home. And then our garage is completely also sinking, also foundation cracks. Same thing with the other neighbor who's gonna come up and talk, same issues. Like I said, we've addressed this with Ms. Noriega, who told us that we're basically in a flood zone and that all the water is going to go through our yard whether we like it or not, and that we should get together with our neighbors and try to install some kind of a pump that's going to be about $50,000, he told us. This isn't acceptable. We've been residents in the area for 17 years now, and we realize that the last storm was a huge storm, but this occurs in the smallest of rainfalls to our backyards. And it's never been as bad as it has been in the last 3 years. So just by looking at the area and then looking at the pond and looking where the water is going and how the soil is basically sinking into the hole, we think that the retention pond has to be looked at and maybe reinforced somehow or made better so that our properties don't become damaged any further. Because even if we want to improve our properties, then we still have the threat that anytime it rains, the same exact thing is going to happen, which we've addressed with the city already. Just looking at the municipal code, anytime that there's areas where there's stormwater being stored, you have various actions that, or minimum requirements like control of vegetation, or you're looking at the surface soil to make sure that there's not erosion of soil going on, or there's not garbage. Even with garbage cleanup in the area, it's been difficult because it's been laying around for quite some time before anybody came to even pick it up. And there's mosquitoes, and it's not a pleasant area or a pleasant area to live right now, currently. Also, it's really not a stable pond just because even last summer, I believe that a smaller pond formed in front of the larger pond, which means the soil is not stable, and basically something has to be done so that we can fix it. In addition to a sewage pump, during the last storm, his sewage pump was actually draining feces and sewage into our backyards. And we understand that the police station and then the library is all draining their water from their properties and their parking lots into this retention pond. So we had no chance of getting this water out. We had about 5 different pumps hooked up to try to get the water out. Our neighbors had an additional 3. The other neighbors had an additional 4. And there was no way to get this water out, even though the city was just pumping more water into it. So we would just like it to be addressed somehow.
All right, thank you. And if we can have the last open
Mr.
for...
Volmer?
I would be the last one turning off.
Mr. Volmer?
Yes.
And your address and your name.
Yes, sir. My name is Michael Vollmer. I live at 509 North Grant Street. I've been resident here for about 38, 39 years. In regard to the flood, the flooding has gotten exacerbated by the building of the retention pond, and I believe that it is built in properly. Upon my observations of other retention ponds and looking into this, that there is no soil erosion control. The pond, I don't believe, is engineered at all. It's not lined with river rock as most other ponds are lined. And there's supposed to be a berm that perimeters the retention pond, which there is none. All of our properties are indeed sinking into it. My neighbors just had their driveways redone last year. Less than 6 months ago, they were perfectly flat. Now you can see all of them are now sloping into that retention pond. I have never seen the flooding, regardless of the amount of rain, in my entire residence here in Westmont. The problem was further exacerbated by the fact that it rained on Tuesday, I believe it was the 16th, and at that point the flooding had already come into my property and the retention pond was completely covered. There was a lapse in the rain, at which point there would have been an opportunity for the village to pump out that water so as to prevent further flooding and potential damage to our property, which was not done. So when the next wave of rain came, and it was just completely all over with. My one neighbor had about 5 or 6 feet of water in his basement. My other neighbor, luckily, his was retained to about like 2 feet. Myself, I was at about like 20 inches. Extensive damage was done to everybody's property, and it just really needs to be addressed. I don't feel like we've gotten any foothold or leeway. We've made no headway at all with any complaints, any calls to the village. It's been very exasperating. As well as the fact that the fence line that borders my property with the retention pond has been in a severe state of disrepair for well over a year now, where there are large chunks of fence, screws, nails. There is a metal border edging that borders alongside the fence as well, which is coming up, and my children are not safe to play in my own yard. We have asked the village to repair this. They go out, they patch it back together. They do a horrible job of trying to patch this thing up. None of the fence posts were sunk in concrete. It was just not done the correct way, which is exactly the way that the retention pond was not engineered at all. I would just really ask that these issues be addressed so that we may further repair our homes and get back to a sense of normalcy around here, because it seems that every 5 years or so, especially my neighbors, they just get done with doing the remodeling and getting back to normal, and then this happens again. So we would just really like somebody to take some action and just take care of this for us. Thank you.
I think the first thing we would encourage all three of you, the three property owners, to attend next Wednesday night, the 22nd.
We will be here.
Yes, and I think we're going to prepare a pretty detailed, thorough report on our stormwater conditions throughout the whole community. And I think at that time, and where's Mr. May? If you want to come up and just give a quick little summary of what we're going to be looking at, and not really, we can't tonight direct the issues, but maybe he can give you some idea of what we're going to cover next Wednesday night.
Certainly. Obviously there was a village-wide problem, and there are issues around their property are reoccurring, and recognize what is being described. As far as comparison to other areas, it's very difficult. It would take a lot of time tonight just to discuss the one area, but there are many related issues, including the fact that it's a detention basin that was specifically built in the low point, the topographic area, and dug out, and the only way that basin drains is through a mechanical pump that is permanently installed at the location. So it operates differently than any other detention basin, but it is a function of the topography. And also the storm sewer system in the neighborhood has to have the capacity to receive the downstream waters or the upstream water and take it downstream, or if there's no capacity, there's no way to transmit that water, and that's somewhat was described by the first resident, the first comments, whereas the waters were coming out of the sewer because there was physically no place for it to go. So on the 22nd, we will be, there will be many areas talked about. I certainly don't have a map with me here too, but you'll get an impression of what happened across the entire town. Their comments are not just about, April 18th, or about 100% of the time. And there are other areas like that too. So you'll be getting an overview of what occurred on that day, will be, refer back to the village-wide stormwater study that was done back in, kind of finished up in 2010, and recap that for the new members of the board, and show you some of the improvements that were done from that study, some of the things that were left to do, some of the expenses that were related to that too. But there won't be any detail about any one location because it needs its own physical, individual look at each spot, and there's dozens of them.
Okay. And I think that some of the items they mentioned we can look into and maybe have a couple of just the fence alone, just to kind of look at the condition of fence.
I actually, the facilities maintenance does go back. It was a good question and a good comment, and they go and repair the fence with the pieces that were there and put it back together. But this morning I signed a purchase order for discount fence is actually going to go in there. There's a lot of sections missing and that we're down, so there's we'll have a fence company come in and look at it.
Okay, thank you. If anybody.
In regard to that area, I'm very familiar with it. My in-laws are your neighbors over there, so very familiar with that area. And I agree with a lot of the statements that you guys said about the garbage and things. It is really a deteriorating area. It seems like there's a fire truck that's rotting away in the ground back there, and it seems like sometimes I go by and there's 7 or 8 vehicles, like commercial vehicles, in a house there, and it seems like the whole area in that corridor, almost behind the police department, has really deteriorated over the last period of, I don't know, years it seems like, and I don't know if that is due to the flooding or that retention or what, but it seems like that area does have an excessive amount of garbage and so forth. I don't know if that's leading to drains clogging and so forth. But.
Well, the basin itself is the low point, and again, it's drains by gravity and is mechanically pumped out of there. This particular storm, the day after that, because of there is no high water level, there's no design high water level because, again, it's built in the geographic low point of all the surrounding properties, which includes all the properties that neighbor it. And that built up to such an extent that on that Friday we took, when we were done with the larger trailer as an 8-inch pump, we draw that over there too. As soon as we knew there was capacity in the storm sewer on Traube Avenue, we started pumping into it. Mm-hmm. But the library was one comment. Those all drain into the same storm sewer system, but the only thing draining into that basin is what's tributary to it by gravity from all the neighboring properties and the police department property itself.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Can I check on the capacity of the storm sewers?
You want to come? Why don't you come on up to the microphone so we could?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's my belief that the storm sewers were not at overcapacity because I was pumping out first my basement, and then I was continuing to pump my backyard into the storm sewer that was in front of my property. Meanwhile, as mine's going in, my neighbor, Mr. Lobos, to the right of me at 511, he was receiving water because there was obviously a blockage in the storm sewer drain that was not allowing it to continue on its path. So it was coming into the culvert into his front yard and then coming right back into the property, and we were pumping it then into the storm sewers. So the retention pond itself has never been kept up. There's a lot of vegetation, garbage, chunks of the fence. I mean, the fence is less than 50% there on the portion that borders my property, and it has been so for well over a year. They've made feeble attempts at repairing the fence that they've come, and they've just not done it. I mean, you can't sink a wooden post into the ground and not expect it to rot within about a year or two. I've done construction. I've done many decks and fences, and it is the most obscene way to even think that you could build a fence. But the retention pond was never actually dug. I never saw anybody out there with any kind of construction vehicle. It used to be a duck pond from the previous residents, I believe, at 505. And all they did really is build up the police station property, slope the back property of that with a parking lot so that all that water does run down via gravity into that retention pond area, which it's not really built for the capacity of all that extra runoff, whereas the previous property, when it was just the fire station, all that water was sloped towards Cass Avenue and into that storm sewer system. So the fact that it is a mechanical pump and it's basically a stopper and it fills up like a bathtub at any rain. I know this was like a really bad rainstorm that we just had, and lots of people got flooded, and it's been, it's a citywide thing. You can't expect everything to go perfectly. But this has been an ongoing thing, and I'm just trying to really stress the fact that regardless of the amount of rain, it could rain just a little bit, and there's going to be some form of water that's in there, and we just really want that taken care of. We would like it to be cleaned up. We want some erosion control, some river rock, and just built, the proper way. But I don't think it was a storm sewer backup, because I was able to pump everything directly right into that. So was my neighbor to the to the south, and that was perfectly fine. But my other neighbor to the north, all the water was coming into his property, flowing right across his yard. He had previously complained that they told him to build up his property and flow the water into my property, which he said was just not going to happen because he's a good neighbor.
Yeah.
So,
He
thank
likes
you.
you. All right, thank you. And again, we don't have the answers tonight, but from our standpoint,
I understand. I just
yeah, we appreciate it,
so that you can
yes,
do your part of the
yes,
whole street
yes,
committee down
yes,
there.
I appreciate it, and it's an awareness on our part that to take a look at it, so thank you. Okay, that's all we have for the open forum. Under reports, look at that, the mayor's first. I got to get used to doing this. So what I'd like to do under my report is ask Chris Switek, who is the chair of the Red, White, and Barbecue, to please come to the podium. And he would like to make a presentation to the board.
Ooh, it's not working out so well, is it? Well, Mr. Mayor, Village Board, this is the last opportunity I have to come before you for this year to promote the second largest event in the village, the Red, White, and Barbecue. As you know, that is Memorial Day weekend. That's seven days away. We have got some great bands lined up, as you can see here kind of see. We've got some great music, some great entertainment. We've got a lot of our food vendors that we've had in the past. They've all decided to come back. We've got some new ones. One of the most important things that we have, which is really going to put our village in the spotlight, is the acclaimed TV program, Barbecue Pitmasters. They are going to be out there. They're going to be filming the entire weekend. And in fact, I think they've been in contact with the village. I know they've been in contact with the mayor a couple of different times to find out where there's different, things that they can go out and film, for the TV program that they're going to be doing. What I did find out is this is not just your average barbecue contest that's going to be put on TV. This is actually a semifinal for the series. So we're going to have 3 of the best barbecuers in the country out there, along with, the stars of the show, Myron Mixon, Tuffy Stone, and such. The 3 barbecuers that are coming out for that specific contest, one is coming from Portland, Oregon, one's coming from Lakeland, Florida, and the other one is somewhere in Minnesota. So we are getting, this is huge, this is national exposure. But enough of that. One of the other things that I'd like to bring up tonight, because tonight is, like I said, one of the last nights that I'll have to be able to promote the barbecue, is volunteers. We're still short a handful of volunteers, and I'm putting this out to the community, is as of tonight, we're going to put a link out on our website that you can actually send out an email to our volunteer chair, and she'll help you, get involved with the barbecue. You got to come out. It's a great time, and once you do it the first time, you'll get hooked. Just ask, Trustee Addington and myself. We started this whole thing. How many years ago, Jim? 7?
Well, 7 years it's been in operation. It's actually longer than that because I actually started 9 years ago to put it together.
Right, so this is, a very huge undertaking for a small group of people, and I think it does the village proud. The last 2 other quick things. Early predictions right now are sunny and 70 for the entire weekend. So obviously people have been going to church. And the last thing, one of the important things is don't forget on Sunday morning, and I was reminded just because I saw, Kathy Casey sitting back there, Sunday morning, there's the Race to the Flag. That is another huge event. I'm sure she's going to have some information. But the Lions Club actually puts on a breakfast that morning for the runners and any public that wants to come out. And all that money gets donated right out to the St. Jude's Hospital. So please come out to that. And you can see some of our sponsors here. Please visit our sponsors. Go to our website. All the current information is out there. It gets updated almost daily now. But I just want to thank you for your time, and I'll be able to answer any questions that you may have.
I think you did a very good job.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. And since you did, still in the mayor report, you mentioned Kathy. I guess we're going to ask her to have an opportunity to come up here and tell us how we can still register for that race.
That's okay. I'm glad you mentioned something. And I wasn't really prepared, but that's okay. As Chris said, on Sunday is Race to the Flag, and you could still register online at www.racetotheflag.org. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And race day registration is also available, and that starts at 6:30 a.m., bright and early. All the volunteers will be there at 5 a.m., so if you want to get there a little early, before 6:30 a.m., we will be there.
And that's at?
At Ty Park.
In the large parking lot.
Which parking lot?
Large parking lot on the southeast corner.
Thank you, Ron, because I am directionally challenged. Okay, and I think that'll do it. Thank you.
I have one other item, and this is something that was special to me that I was going to request, but then I found out that our chief, Tom Mulhern, where's he at? He's over there, was going to talk about the Special Olympics, and he also has a special guest tonight, which I was very honored to have her here. So, Tom, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'm here tonight to talk to you about Special Olympics in Illinois, the law enforcement torch run for Special Olympics, and I have with me a very good friend of mine, and a lot of ours, and a Westmont resident, Michelle Forsley. And Michelle is a global messenger for Special Olympics. And before I tell you a little bit about the event I'd like to let everyone know about, I'd like to have Michelle tell everyone a little bit about Special Olympics. And I'll stay with her and keep her company.
How's that mic? Is it in a good spot? Okay.
Should be the right
It's okay.
height with Tom.
It's good.
Hi, my name is Michelle Forsley, and I am a global messenger for Special Olympics Illinois. I'm sure many of you know that Special Olympics first started in 1968 at Soldier Field. There were 1,000 athletes from 26 states in Canada that competed in track and field and aquatics. Now there are over 170 countries and 3.7 million athletes. In Illinois alone, there are more than 22,000 athletes training and competing in Special Olympics in 19 events. I got involved with Special Olympics through the Southeast Association for Special Parks and Recreation, or CSPAR, 13 years ago. My first Special Olympic event was basketball, where I played guard. I like it so much, I went on to play softball, volleyball, golf, bowling, and bocce ball. I participated at the state and local games in every sport and have won over 35 medals. I was selected to represent Illinois in the first national games in Ames, Iowa in 2006 in golf, where I won the gold medal. Special Olympics is unique in that all funds are raised through individual and corporate donations, grants, service clubs, and special events. There's no charge to athletes to participate in Special Olympics. Programs like Cop on Top, supported by the Westmont Police Department, Chief Mulhern, and the residents of Westmont, is one fundraiser that helps the 22,000 athletes in Illinois participate in Special Olympics. This year, Chief Mulhern and other Westmont police officers will be on top of the Dunkin' Donuts on 63rd Street on Friday, May 31st, from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. Please help support Special Olympics by visiting Dunkin' Donuts. Other fundraisers that I want to thank the Westmont Police for supporting are the Pour Plunge, the Plane Pull, and the Torch Run. Currently, I'm selling tickets for the Rubber Ducky Derby, which is on Thursday, August 8th. 40,000 ducks will be dumped into the Chicago River, and the first 4 ducks to cross the finish line win fantastic prizes. Anyone interested in purchasing a duck or group of ducks can see me tonight or visit the Westmont Community Center to pick up an entry form or go online at www.soill.org and complete the form. Thank you in advance for your support and allowing me to speak about Special Olympics. Thank you.
Michelle, I've heard that. This is probably the 3rd time, and you get better every time you do it. And you forgot to tell us that you were the C-SPAR Athlete of the Year too, weren't you? Took a picture. She's not. She don't want to. Now you don't want to tell us. Were you the senior? Were you this through C-SPAR? Weren't you named the Athlete of the Year?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. You need to make sure you tell a little bit more about yourself. So.
I know not to golf with her.
Yes, she's a very good golfer.
Amen.
You don't want to see me golf anyway, but she's a fantastic golfer. And what did you do today?
Bowling.
Bowling.
Nice.
Very good.
You don't want to see me
Very
bowl
great
either,
athlete.
trust me.
And-
Michelle, stay with me, hang one side. Just so everyone knows, as Michelle had said, on Friday, May 31st, we'll be participating in the statewide Cop on Top. You'll see this on TV with other police departments, and something we've done for the last 4 years. I won't be up there alone. I will have my partner in crime, Deputy Chief Gunther, up there, rain or shine, warm and cold. We're up there together, and we would like to invite everyone, please stop by. We'll have people taking donations on the drive-through. If you come and make a donation, any type of donation, no matter how large or small, you'll get a coupon for a free donut. And if you donate $10, you'll get a coffee mug with 1 free refill. And Donuts is a huge sponsor of this event. And last year, we raised close to $1,400 last year. And so this year, the goal is to raise more. I've been told that I will personally have to donate a large amount of money because they've threatened to take the ladder away and not let me down until I pay. So last year I was able to strap the ladder to the building. This year I don't know what's going to happen. So Michelle and I would like to invite everyone to come down to Dunkin' Donuts on May 31st. And I want to thank you. You did an outstanding job.
Thank you for
Thank you,
inviting
Michelle.
me.
Thank you.
And Tom, while you're up there, you want to tell us about the Memorial Day Parade?
Yes.
Welcome.
On May 27th, Monday, we will have our annual Memorial Day Parade and Memorial Service. The parade will start at 10:30, starting at Cass Avenue and Naperville Road, proceeding south to Richmond Street, and then east on Richmond to the Memorial Service, which is just east of the Park District building. And that will be immediately following the parade. And so we would like to have everyone come out and join us in honoring our servicemen and women who have given the ultimate sacrifice to keep us safe. And so with that, again, it'll be on Memorial Day, May 27th, 10:30 along Cass Avenue.
And on May 31st, when you get down from the roof, there's a Relay for Life at Ty Warner Park.
Yes, that night for benefit cancer. And to help us eliminate that disease. Up at Ty Warner Park, they will be staying there, I believe, overnight. They have a large event, and that will also be that evening as well.
Any questions? Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Mayor.
That was a long mayor report, huh? Is that pretty long? All right, clerk. Jen.
Well, I have a long one, too. First of all, we have condolences around the dais here because our mayor lost his mother last night. Trustee Barry lost his brother last week. And our manager lost a family member, too. So it's not been a very good week, but our condolences to all of you. And also to Tim from Karma's. He lost his father, so it's going around right now. So condolences to Tim and his family. Also, you'll notice at your desk that there are minutes from our special board meeting Monday night. So if you will look them over, I would like to add those to the agenda for Monday night. So that. Mark, I think you have to come back. Did you listen to us tonight on the pledge?
I know, I didn't want to say.
It was just horrible. So,
He had us all trained in.
and now it's fallen apart, and it's just awful. And you just have to come back and straighten it. Well, no, we're not doing very well.
We're going to fix it, we promise.
And on a happier note, a very happy belated birthday to Trustee
good grief.
Seneca.
Thank you.
And then are you walking or are you directing the parade?
I am organizing the parade.
That's what I figured.
I'm
Ginny,
not going to stop doing that.
yeah, you'll have to run up, though, to make the speech.
I may have to run and do something at the podium, but I am
Okay.
going to still organize the parade. I don't want to, I love doing that, and I'll continue to do it. So,
All right.
All right, thank you.
You answered my question.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Barry.
I have no new reports.
Thank you. Trustee Addington.
One thing. And also on May 31st, for those who, and I thought you were going to mention it.
I can't say everything. I left something for you.
Well, you left something for you, okay. Some of you may remember that they opened up a sports wall of fame at our high school, and Coach Craig Etheridge from the basketball team has put together kind of a little fundraiser, alumni night on May 31st. The 2001 basketball team is going to play a select group of players from the other teams that Coach Etheridge has had over these last several years. The 2001 team is the one that went downstate, for those who don't remember, and came very close to, matter of fact, lost to the eventual state champion. And Ron was assistant coach at that time, and but I think it's going to be a fun night. It's $5 for adults, $2 for kids, and it'll be at the high school at 7 o'clock, and we hope everyone will come out, and I think it should be fun. We'll see a lot of these young people that we have cheered on for all these years, and have a good time. But if you're not doing anything else that night, come out and watch a bunch of our wonderful young citizens who have been around for a while.
And then go to Ty Warner for the
Then go to
relay
Ty
final.
Warner, that's right. It'll be very close.
Thank you. Trustee Scott.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Trustee Nero.
The only thing I want to say is to remind everybody that this Saturday is the annual DuPage River Sweep. That Westmont is participating now the third year. It's a great event, and what we do from 9 a.m. till noon is clean up what the neighbors by me call a cesspool on 61st Street and Cumner. So I encourage everybody to come. It's an event that costs $0 to the village, and we will have a big dumpster there, and pokers and gloves and garbage bags. And last year we had 40 volunteers that picked up over 650 pounds of garbage out of this pond. And it really makes a huge impact. Just for an hour of your time, it really cleans up the waterways and, helps alleviate some of the problems a few of the residents were concerning about earlier tonight, because it unclogs the storm drains. So it's a wonderful event, and I hope everybody can make it out, all my colleagues. I know Trustee Seneca is going to make it. Former Trustee Klebanow called me, she's going to be there. So I hope if anybody has, even if you have 15 minutes to stop by, everybody grabs a piece of garbage, it all adds up. That's all I have. Thank you.
Trustee Barker.
I just want to take a minute and say that I've been into this now for a couple of weeks, and I just want to thank the village staff again for all their help and support, and current trustees have been wonderful to me. It has been a lot, for those people that don't know, it has been a lot for us rookies. But anyway, I appreciate all their hard work, and I appreciate all their assistance and answering all the questions that I might come up with. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Seneca.
Thank you. Just to echo Ginny's sympathies to everyone, and to also add a message of sympathy to Leslie Ruff, who is a longtime Westmont resident. She lost her brother, Dwight Townsend, last week, and they both live in the house that they grew up in. And the interesting thing about Dwight and Leslie is their mother, Mrs. Townsend, was Westmont's very first ever librarian. So this is a very significant loss for our community, and I just wanted to convey my sympathy to that family. Also, tell me it's coincidental that my birthday month is also Older American Month. And with that, I'll end it. That's all I have.
Thank you. And I do have to apologize that I skipped around the agenda, and I was supposed to go to the attorney, so I will go to the attorney for his report now. He doesn't have a report. So. Then I will ask the manager, who I was supposed to go to before the trustees, for his report.
Thank you. Just a couple things. My sympathies, well, to Trustee Barry and Mayor Ron. In my particular case, it was actually a close friend of the family. It was an actual family member, but I appreciate the offer anyway. It is difficult to lose anyone that you know very well. I appreciate that. What I would like to do is a couple announcements. We are going to be reconvening the Central Business District public hearing on Monday the 20th. However, we will be postponing it again. We are in discussions with District 201 over some of the concerns that they have. So we will be announcing that on Monday evening, that we'll be continuing that public hearing. Then I would also like to request an executive session regarding threatened litigation and also regarding union collective bargaining activity. And that is all I have.
Thank you. On the agenda item number 6, does any board member want any item removed from the consent agenda this evening? If not, then we will move to the consent agenda. Manager Searle, please read.
Yes, we have several items on the consent agenda this evening. We have under village minutes, we have the committee of the whole meeting minutes for May 2nd and the regular village board meeting minutes for May 6th. That's on the consent agenda for Monday as well. We have purchase orders. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the clerk also had passed out minutes for special village board meeting on May 13th, 2013, so that will be on there as well. And then under purchase orders, we have purchase order number 11030976 to Clark Environmental in the amount of $18,823.58. This is the second year, this is actually an installment towards our second year contract with our company that handles our mosquito abatement program. And we also have a purchase order I'd like to ask to be added to the agenda. It's purchase order number 11031110 to Klessen Brothers. I'm not always sure I pronounced that correctly. In the amount of $12,890. This was an item that board members will recall, both current and new board members, following the budget discussions, will be placing hanging baskets back in the downtown. So we'd like to add this, with your permission, to the consent agenda for Monday night as well.
Yes.
We also have on the consent agenda finance ordinance number 2. The total amount of that is $1,381,005.62. And then we also have a proclamation for Public Works Recognition Week, which is the week of May 19th to the 25th on the consent agenda as well. And that completes the consent agenda for Monday.
Any board members have any questions or comments on the consent agenda? If not, then we'll put that on the agenda for Monday night. Unfinished business.
Okay, the next item is 4 West Burlington Avenue, Westmont Quick Stop.
That's new business. I'm sorry. We don't have any unfinished business, so we'll go to new business.
I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. You're
now
correct.
Now you're making me nervous. No, it's this time. It's new business under new business. Go ahead, Ron. I'm sorry.
We're changing our routine a little bit this evening, so we'll get this straight. New business, 4 West Burlington Avenue, Westmont Quick Stop. The board to consider an ordinance approving a development permit request from Mahmoud Rashad, I apologize if I mispronounce your name, to operate Westmont Quick Stop at 4 West Burlington Avenue. This business will offer convenience items such as snacks, drinks, electronic accessories, and tobacco products. And we have the petitioner here this evening on the right, and we have our staff member, our acting community development director, Shannon Malik, to answer any questions that the board members may have about it. And I will turn it over at this point to the petitioner.
Thank you. My name is Mo Rashid. Mahmoud is how you pronounce my father's name. But I'm here on the behalf of Neighborhood Foods. It's our family-owned and operated business. We've had it for over 27 years. Started with my father and 2 uncles. Over the years, we've had experiences owning and operating gas stations, convenience stores, clothing stores, even a bakery. We are interested in opening up a business here in Westmont and being part of the Westmont family. As you mentioned, some of the products that we would be offering are kind of convenience items, things for commuters, snacks, sandwiches, prepackaged goods. We, at the Economic Development Committee hearing, we discussed how we might be able to partner up with some of the local businesses and offering kind of local donuts and sandwiches at our location as well. I did get a chance to speak to Deputy Chief Gunther, Jim Gunther, about the tobacco license, and we are looking forward to, I'm sorry, I'm drawing kind of a blank. We are looking to be part of the community.
And I think that the tobacco license would potentially be on the next set of meetings.
So we're not addressing the
No, that would
okay.
be a separate section of the ordinance you'd have to approve, separate ordinance.
Questions?
Mo, I think when we were at EDC, we were talking about the tobacco issue, and at that time, you said it wasn't even an issue because it was something that you really didn't think you would want in there because your father felt it wasn't a good idea to have tobacco in the products in there. So that's kind of a change from what we talked about at EDC versus what it is tonight.
Well, with what we kind of discussed at EDC, we originally wanted to apply for the tobacco license. If it's not available, that's not a make or break kind of issue for us. If it is available, we would be interested in having it. But yeah, it's not a make or break. It's not a deal breaker if it's not available.
Just for the new board members' understanding, tobacco licenses are now handled similar to liquor licenses. You create them and make them available. So it's not really a question of it being available as much as whether or not you want to create the license and then issue it.
To issue it, okay.
Do we have different levels, or is it all just a tobacco license?
I don't recall, John. Do you know if it's different
I seem to
types?
recall we don't have different levels. It's just a single classification. We authorize so many, and if someone wants to come in for a license, you determine whether the public need and health and safety warrant it. And then you can make one available, and then it's up to the mayor to actually grant or deny it.
Yeah. Same thing goes if somebody closes, then we would,
Decrease
just like
it
the
by
liquor
one.
license, we would then eliminate.
Yep.
Okay, very good.
And if I may, just for the record, the location that the petitioner is looking at is the former Village Smoke Shop location, which was open since 2008 or so, and had a couple of different owners during that time. So the use is similar, but there will be some more convenience items that will be offered, as Mo had mentioned. There's also, we looked at parking as part of this. There's no issue with that because it's about 600 square feet and would apply for the administrative waiver. So again, just for the benefit of the new board members, anytime in the B1 district downtown, if there's a technical requirement of 3 or fewer parking spaces, that can be administratively waived. Even if that weren't the case, there was a previously approved parking variance for another tobacco shop at this location.
And I might have missed it, but what's kind of your general hours of operation?
At first, we are looking to kind of open from 5 to 8, 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. The hours will, however, kind of, once we get a good feeling for the environment and the town, we'll kind of change those as they come. With our current stores, our hours of operation are 7 to 7, and they do change after daylight savings time and in the winter.
Are these stores in the vicinity here? Are they in other towns or in Westmont or?
Our main location, the oldest one, is in Cicero. We did just open a second location in Stickney, and the first of the month was actually the opening day, the grand opening for that one.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions. What do you mean by electronic accessories?
Okay. With electronic accessories, we are looking to kind of have convenience items for commuters. Say you forget a pair of headphones, a charger, stuff like that. We're not going to be retailing stuff like $200 Bose headsets or anything like that. Kind of more stuff if you need a $10 pair of headphones or something in that kind of price range.
Cool. And what kinds of groceries would you have? You show on your drawing an area for groceries.
With our two other locations, our Stickney location is probably the most similar in size. Grocery items, stuff like cereal.
Like staple kind of things that would have a good shelf life.
Exactly. It wouldn't be like produce or anything like that. It would be kind of more, I'm making dinner, I need a can of beans, I need some olive oil, I need something quick. You can definitely stop by. The easiest kind of thing to kind of picture, probably like a 7-Eleven or like a White Hen Pantry kind of thing.
But a little bit smaller.
A little bit smaller, yeah.
And I always mention this to people that want to come into our downtown, but I imagine that it's been explained to you that we have several events throughout the year where the street is actually closed. Cass Avenue is closed for our summer festival, the Taste of Westmont. It will now be closed on Thursday evenings, to accommodate our Fresh Market and Cruisin' Nights, which, we'll have the parking lot over on Burlington open for customers, and of course here on Burlington itself. But I just wanted to be sure that you were okay with that.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't have a problem with that.
We are definitely looking to kind of get involved in the community as well, and we would love to kind of play a hand in anything and do whatever we can to help make everything smooth with us as well.
I would also suggest that you talk to our chamber, Larry Forsberg, our chamber director. We have a very vibrant and wonderful chamber, and there's lots of good networking opportunities within that chamber, so that would be great. I'll admit I'm reluctant to increase the number of tobacco licenses, but I think that your business might be kind of a nice addition in the absence of tobacco, for me anyway.
With the tobacco license, I understand some of the concerns that you would have with it. With over 27 plus years, we have sold tobacco at our other location. We have a spotless record 27 years, 27 different pins for not selling to any underage individuals. And I mean, I had a chance to kind of discuss this with Deputy Chief Gunther. We wouldn't carry any kind of paraphernalia of that isn't necessarily used for tobacco. But with the location being downtown and not Cook County, our other two stores are in Cook County, $12 a pack cigarettes, so we understand. I've commuted, I have friends that have commuted, and I know it's definitely a nice convenience for them to kind of grab it in the suburbs rather than paying $4 extra a pack in the city.
And then Bob, the Economic Development Committee?
Gave it a
positive.
Positive.
Very good.
Encouraged it with no alcohol.
Very good.
Your stores in Stickney and Cicero, same name?
Well, to be completely honest, the Quick Stop, we've been kind of discussing of changing that name. It does kind of sound like oil change place. But we're working on the name. Our Cicero location, Neighborhood Foods, our Stickney location, Stickney Corner Store.
Okay.
And then
Can you give us those addresses in case we want to do a little road trip over the weekend?
definitely. The Cicero location is 2229 South Laramie, and that's in Cicero, Illinois, 60804, I believe. And the Stickney location is 3904 East Gunderson, and that is in Berwyn, Illinois, or Stickney, Illinois, but when you put in the zip code,
They're right
it
there.
pops up Berwyn, yeah. And I don't have the zip code off the top of my head.
That's
but it's
okay.
off of Pershing and Gunderson.
Great, thank you. So would you have any weekend hours at all? Or is this mostly Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 8 p.m.?
We would definitely be open during the weekends as well. Same time, 5 to 8 at first. And then once we've got a good feel for the neighborhood, that would probably
You might have
change
to adjust them a little.
our other locations. The whole week they're open 7 to 7. Sundays we close at 6.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the trustees? If not, any questions from the public? Anybody have a question? Shannon, you're,
That summarized everything.
all right, so then if we don't have any other objection, it'll be on the agenda for Monday night. Thank you.
I would like to add, at first, we will be, either myself or my father will be the ones who will be in the store. But in the future, once we kind of get a good feel for the neighborhood, we would be hiring 2 to 3 employees from the village as well.
Very good.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right. Under second item under new business, the Class 18 liquor license.
Board to consider an ordinance increasing the number of Class 18 liquor licenses by 1 to accommodate a request from Truffleberry Market located at 825 North Cass Avenue, Suite 303. A Class 18 liquor license allows for the sale of alcoholic liquor in conjunction with a meal at a private party or event or a bona fide catering company headquartered in Westmont. And we have the petitioners here as well as our Deputy Liquor Commissioner, Jim Gunther, to explain the request and answer any questions. And apparently Chief handing out extra material.
We'll get our material and then you can start. Thank you. I didn't eat yet. I'm eating jelly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. I have the petitioners from Truffleberry Market
before you tonight requesting a Class 18 catering license. For the benefit of the new board members, I'd like to explain a little bit of the process. I come before the board with petitioners to ask to increase the number of licenses which are on the books. Much like the tobacco licenses we just discussed, Trustee Zemina covered that. The board's job is to increase the number of licenses to allow for the room. The mayor, who's also the liquor commissioner, has the sole discretion to issue the license should the mayor see fit. So without further ado, the Class 18 catering license was created late last year. It allows for the service of all alcohol incident to food service provided by a bona fide catering company headquartered in Westmont, which is pretty key to the ordinance. The alcohol is controlled by the catering employees and is served at private functions within Westmont or outside of Westmont. If they go outside of Westmont, they are under the auspices of the specialty retail liquor license issued by the Illinois Liquor Control Commission. When they're inside Westmont serving alcohol, then they're under both the specialty retail license and their liquor license for Westmont. So without further ado, I will introduce the applicants from Truffleberry Market. They can go ahead and explain a little bit about their business and
Hi, everybody.
dazzle you.
Let's hope. I'm Brittany Farron. I'm the chef and owner of Truffleberry Market. This is my business partner,
Hi, I'm Vito.
Vito Karsokas. He's also my husband. We started our business 5 years ago together and very proud of what we've built. We love our location, very close to a lot of our business. We do a lot of work in Chicago, Barrington, Hinsdale, Oak Brook. We come before you tonight really kind of at a crossroads with the growth of our business. So what we do is very handmade, organic, quality-driven kind of food. So there's a lot of different ways to consider catering. When people think catering, they think big pans of, mastacholi and things like that. And we can make mastacholi and it's very delicious, but we both we're classically trained and we come from the restaurant world. So where we met working at a restaurant as chefs, and what we wanted to do was to bring that quality to the catering world, which not a lot of companies do. We found that our clients, they're really enjoying what we're doing. That said, alcohol goes hand in hand with celebrations. So weddings, fundraisers, galas, certainly we do a lot of engagement parties and baby showers and bridal showers and things like that, and that's wonderful. Very grateful for all of the experience, but we'd really like to, kind of get to the next level with our business. We want to be considered for these fundraisers and galas, and for the majority of the events that happen at venues, you can't even be on the vendor list if you don't have a liquor license. So, we understand it is a great responsibility. We sign ourselves up for responsibility at a young age, and we're ready, we're disciplined, we understand that it takes a lot of work, and we're definitely willing to put it in. Certainly hope that we're considered, because I think it's going to be a huge step for our business, in a nutshell.
Questions?
Well, I just want to make a statement. I was passing out letters last year to announce the barbecue event to the neighbors, talking about the street closures and everything. And I visited them, didn't even know that we had a place like this, and got to see a little operation. And I'll tell you, it's impressive if you go in there.
Thank you.
They have a nice setup, and this probably is a complement to what they already have. And unless there is somebody who comes up with something from an objection standpoint, I think this would be great, because what I saw when I was there was extremely positive operation.
Thank you.
And it was nice to have them in town.
Harold.
Appreciate that.
I'm curious how the sales tax works in a catering situation. Usually you have a cash register or something. Is that one lump sum? Is that broke down separately? How is that?
So sales tax currently we charge on our food, and if we were to do beverage, it would be food and beverage. It's 7.75%, and we just submit Illinois sales tax through the payroll and everything. So yeah, it's based on food currently, but would also include beverage sales.
And is that documented separately, or do we require that through the village that the alcohol be documented separately as far as the sales in that?
The last section of the Class 18 license, we put in there specifically, and the attorney drafted the language to account for that. It says, licensee shall provide detailed, accurate records of the amount of sales of alcoholic liquor, food sales, and such other information as may be required by the local liquor commissioner. Two reasons why we put that in. One is because for compliance checks, when we check we check a restaurant, we're going to a physical location, it's easy for the police department to do the compliance checks and to find out if they're selling underage or not. Different situation, I can't get an undercover person into a catering event. I guess I could, but I have to get really creative. So we put it in for that. But also, this is unique language that, in doing the survey, no other town in DuPage that I surveyed has this type of oversight on their license. So hats off to the attorneys for coming up with it.
It doesn't become a situation where you're providing a service where then you become exempt from that sales tax.
We do, the way we sell it and the way we do our bookkeeping is that it is different. So it's not, for example, we wouldn't say $100 is dinner and drinks. It would be, your food is one portion, your drinks is one portion. Everything is kind of split out. And we do have liquor liability insurance, $2 million policy if our servers do pour somebody's wine. And they also require us to submit any sort of even non-alcoholic beverage. So we do, soda, water, things like that.
Very good. That was I'm all for it. I just wanted to clear that up and make sure that we get our share, of course.
Sure, absolutely.
I have a question for the deputy chief. Would they be required to take Bassett training? Or their servers?
It's not required to have Bassett training, but they volunteered to have Bassett training.
Good. I want them to.
It's a good class.
Yes, and all of our servers and bartenders currently are anyways Bassett trained or TIPS trained, so.
I think most of the insurance companies are going that way also.
Absolutely.
That's part of it. So.
Yeah.
Jim, you reviewed it and you're recommending that this is a...
Oh, very good idea.
Very good.
Strong recommendation.
Strong recommendation, very good.
If that's worth more than just a recommendation.
Okay, strong. I'm
Maybe you
learning.
could,
Strong recommendation.
I think you should.
Any other comments from...
Well, I think this is a perfect business to whip something up and begin joining our Taste of Westmont with some wonderful booth.
I agree. That would be fun.
I'd like to ask, how many employees do you have?
We currently have 8 employees aside from Fido and myself.
Right.
So, and it was just us two, and every year we get more and more. And last year we doubled our sales from the year before. So
It's wonderful.
hopefully
And you're in
continue
Westmont.
to do that. I know. Yeah.
Thank you for picking Westmont.
Excited about
We
this.
love
Very
it.
good.
And Ty Warner Park is at our backyard, so after hearing all the Ty Warner Park stuff, we're
coming over.
just going to walk over.
Good.
Well, I'll probably be passing out letters again, so I'll come visit you.
Yeah, come on over.
Anybody else from the board? Anybody from the public? Doc Martin, would you like to comment on... I just saw Doc Martin enter the room, a former trustee. He's here tonight. No?
How many
Again,
years, Doc? 20? How many years were you on the board? 20 years.
I just welcome Doc Martin in case he walked in, but we'll put this on the agenda for Monday night. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Moving on the agenda, the engineering Phase 3 service agreement with Baxter and Woodman.
Okay, board to consider an ordinance authorizing an agreement for Phase 3 construction engineering services regarding the North Hudson Street water main replacement project. The construction project consists of approximately 1,600 linear feet of water main replacement on North Hudson Street with a new 8-inch water main. Work includes new valves, hydrants, individual residential water service lines, and other related work. We have negotiated a Phase 3 construction services agreement for this project with Baxter and Woodman, our design engineers, in the amount not to exceed $49,675. And we have our Public Works Director, Steve May, here to explain the project any further, answer any questions. This was also reviewed by the Public Works Committee, and that committee and staff recommend approval of this said agreement.
Well, it was very well described. So it is the water main replacement on North Hudson.
Didn't you write it?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So of course
Thank you
it's
for
well
presenting
described.
it.
And you read it.
This, and actually the next item, and you're welcome to describe that one too, but there's two contracts here related to the same project, and it's the water main replacement.
Got it.
The engineering phase three is the term we use for the construction supervision portion of the engineering. Baxter and Winman was also the design engineers for the project, and the logical choice to be used for the contract supervision. Can I describe the next item right away?
I think we can, since it's connected, we'll just, the next item is awarding of the bid proposal.
For the actual construction contract. And on April 16th, we did receive bids, 11 bids for the construction contract. The low bid was Patnick Construction in the amount of $311,317, which is approximately 20% below the engineer's estimate. One thing I wanted to describe that was not in the board action, you see in the engineer's recommendation for approval that they refer to alternates A, B, and C. And at the time, we like to do, in a good revolving system, we like to do the engineering in 1 year for construction in the following year, and that way the design is done and we've got a better estimate of what the construction value is going to be. So that works out very well when we can afford to do that. They were hired to do the engineering design, and it was for Hudson and Washington. So when we went out to bid, just to see what the bid prices would be, alternate A was one street only, B was Washington, one was Hudson only, one was Washington only, and the third one was the two combined in case there were great savings in, in the scale of quantities and things like that too. But we do not have enough budget funds to do both streets this year. So the construction contract, as well as the engineering services, is just for the Hudson Street, which would be Burlington Avenue to Naperville Road.
Questions? None? Anybody? Anybody from the public have any question on both agenda items, C and D? If not, we'll place both of them on the agenda for Monday night. The next new business is commuter parking lot permit fee increase.
Okay, the board is considering an ordinance to amend section 78-349D to increase the commuter parking lot permit fee from $75 to $100. This fee increase was something that we talked about during the fiscal year budget process. We have our Deputy Village Clerk, Carrie Kamak, here to talk about that, as well as I believe probably the next item, I would imagine. And I know that an extensive survey was done looking at the surrounding communities to see how we compare, and it's been some time since we've actually looked at increasing our commuter fees. So at this point, I'll let our Deputy Clerk comment.
All right. Thank you. Good evening. Yes, as Ron had mentioned, extensive research was done. It's been since 2002 since the last increase had occurred for the commuter parking permits. We currently have approximately 400 permits in the 3 commuter parking lots. The last increase had occurred back in 2002. This was, as Ron had mentioned, one of the considerations for budgets, to continue the maintenance and of these parking lots. We did an extensive research of all the villages along the Burlington line and even other metro lines in the area, and we were on the low end of the spectrum when it came to our current rate. So by raising it to $100, we're pretty much right in the middle of the pack what other villages aren't currently charging. I use the operative word current because I have recently received calls from other villages who are at the $100 rate and are actually looking at increasing their fees. So this is something that, again, it's something that we certainly need to continue operating and maintaining our parking lots. And with your permission too, I'd like to segue into the next item, which does dovetail into, again, this was a budget action item, and that would be to increase the taxi cab sticker fees. We have 8 cab companies licensed to operate vehicles within the village of Westmont. And of those cabs that they operate, each cab is required to have a vehicle sticker affixed to the rear bumper to show that they are authorized to operate and pick up passengers in Westmont. That fee, much like the commuter parking fee, that has not seen an increase since the year 2002. And again, this is something that again, we would have to just, as a budget consideration, it was recommended that we increase that fee from $75 to the $100 fee.
I just have a quick question regarding that in the sticker. I was behind a cab and clearly in Westmont, and it had lots of villages, but not Westmont. So is there ever a time when a cab will be in Westmont but not be licensed here?
Could be dropping off a
So they can
passenger.
drop off without a license, they just can't pick up?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, so, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question on the parking lots. Do we have a feel for the 400 permits that we have? Are those all occupied?
Yeah, they are all spoken for. We do have a waiting list for commuters wishing to obtain a permit. We do get the question asked quite often when people are on this waiting list are told that there are not any permits available. And the best parallel that I could come up with is if you attend a baseball game that's deemed to be sold out, but you see a lot of empty seats, those seats were purchased, the people did not make the game. We have a lot of commuters, especially in the legal profession, where they have their law offices in particular in the western suburbs, but they will use the train to commute downtown for court cases. So again, that's not a daily event for them, so therefore you'll see some empty spots. But we do have a waiting list the short answer to address the commuter parking situation.
And those spots are available to the public after 9:30, correct?
Only one permit lot is Lot A directly across on Quincy Street. After 9:30 a.m., it is open to the public for free parking, provided there are open spots, usually are. The only time that we do have some kind of, I'll say, problem for a commuter finding or taking a train after 9:30 a.m. is when the Taste of Chicago is happening. We see high volumes of rail traffic then, and there could be a little competition for those parking spots. But other than that, we do have metered parking on Burlington Avenue, $2 for 12 hours of parking. Not
Carrie,
a bad deal.
Is it a fair assumption that not all 400 of those permits are Westmont residents?
Yeah, I did the study on that, and it's almost a 50-50 split. The majority of the permits, well, 50% obviously are Westmont residents. The next largest share of permit holders come from the town of Darien.
Okay, thank you.
So there's a $200 annual licensing fee, and then it's currently $75 per taxi cab for the taxi cab company that holds that license. Was there any thought given to increasing the annual license fee of $200?
No, there wasn't, because what we looked at was the product as a whole. Looking at the number and sheer quantities of stickers issued, it was more advantageous to raise this on a per vehicle basis rather than an individual license. It had a greater impact. Okay.
Trustee Addington.
And just, again, I haven't really ridden the train forever, but as I recall, the zone ends here. In other words, if you were to go, that's one of the reasons why we have as many spots and why we have the waiting list, because if they want to go to Downers Grove, it's more.
You're exactly right.
Yeah,
It
so that
is the
hasn't
next
changed.
zone. That has not changed,
Yeah.
but with that said,
Fairview, I think, is in this zone, isn't it?
Pardon me?
I think the Fairview station is in our zone, but everything west is not. I thought.
I think Westmont maybe, I think it's Zone D if I'm not mistaken.
Zone
It's
D.
been many years since I've been a monthly commuter. But again, actually in all towns, even though as you continue west, the demand is actually even greater for commuter parking spots, and some of the towns experience 5 to 10-year waits. Hinsdale has an extraordinarily long wait. Naperville is the most outrageous. If I recall, it was a 10-year wait. And what they require in some of these towns is to be on the waiting list, you have to place a deposit. And I don't even know if that's refundable, in all honesty, if you opt out of it.
Wow. Interesting.
Any other questions?
Yes, how long is that waiting list? How long do you?
Our experience, well, based on, well, the economy had dictated a lot, and also, but we pretty much rely on attrition. And right now, we're experiencing only a 3 to 6 month wait for our commuters. And again, a lot depends on what happens in economic conditions. And we tend to see it actually spike up a little bit more as we approach the winter months. People would rather not drive, but they'd rather take the train.
Sure. And then out of those 8 companies that had the taxi cabs, how many vehicles out of those issues?
It varies, the largest being the American Cab Company. They were by far the largest, and AM Regional, that was the other big player. But all told, we average about 150 to 180 stickers sold annually.
Very good. Trustee Scott?
No, answered it.
Just out of curiosity, the waiting list is done as a first-come, first-serve on the waiting list? We don't give any preference to a resident versus a...
We do not.
No, okay.
We do not. It's simply said as
Just
you
out of my
described.
curiosity. So it's whoever's first is next to get the...
Exactly.
Very good. If not both, there's another 2 items just like that, right? Any questions from the public on either one of the 2 agenda items? If not, they will be placed on the agenda for Monday night. The next agenda item, Village Board meeting date change.
This is actually a subject that's come up a couple of times over the last couple of years. This item would be to consider an ordinance amending Chapter 2 that would reduce the annual number of village board meetings. During our last budget discussions, the board agreed to discuss reducing the number of meetings by meeting every other Thursday. We would eliminate then the distinction between the committee of the whole and the regular village board meeting nights, the voting nights. The way this would work, and the way we had talked about this previously of possibly working, is that on any given agenda, you might have a first reading of certain types of ordinances. So you would get the ordinance, the explanation would be provided. Obviously, you could ask questions. The public would have an opportunity to ask questions about that. However, you would understood at the beginning of the meeting, you would not be voting on that particular ordinance, that would just be placed on the next meeting agenda for consideration. This would not prevent the board from ever calling any type of special informational or workshop meetings. When I've talked to other communities about how they work this, and I should also mention this wouldn't affect the recently instituted consent agenda either. We would also leave that as part of the agenda structure. But when in talking to other communities and trying to find out how do you decide what types of ordinances you should have like a first reading on, or are there certain types of ordinances that are perfunctory enough that you could put them on, vote on them at the same meeting? The impression I got was that many of the communities, it's just handled on a case-by-case basis, that you put it on the agenda, and if you feel that it warrants more time, then you say, okay, this is the first reading. The second reading will be at the next agenda or the next meeting date, and then you have more time to be able to gather more information about that item before you want to vote on it. So that is kind of what our research has explained to us is the way many of the communities operated. It doesn't mean it's the only way it could be. But again, we were asked to put this on the agenda for discussion because it came up during the budget process discussions.
Financial Director Parker,
yes,
if you'd like to just discuss, there are some advantages from his side of it, from the financial end.
Yeah, so as was discussed in the budget, it's estimated this could save us close to $20,000 on an annual basis. And then, as was also discussed, the structure of doing it every other week as opposed to the first and the third makes it a lot easier for staff and finance to be able to structure it so that the board meetings fall on the week that is not the payroll week, which is every other week as well. And so it's beneficial for us if we had to choose, that would be our preference, would be to do it the every other week as opposed to first and third.
Any questions?
We also, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Ron.
One other point I was going to make is, I know when I originally, when we first talked about this a couple of years ago, I was thinking this would be like every other Monday. And I think some good points were made that oftentimes, there are weekend holidays or people like to get away for the weekend. So that's why the Thursday was chosen. I just wanted to make that point.
I think that's good. And I like the idea, if I understood what you said, of taking even like this agenda here, you're still going to have the first part. It's going to stay just like it is. Our items, open forum, general information. Then you get into the new business and, some kind of a break at that point, or then you go into the voting part of it.
Mm-hmm.
The third thought was,
do you talk about, for instance, like we just did with the taxi cabs, or the commuters, and vote right then and there? Or do you give it a little time for us all to mull in our heads? And then if there's a discomfort level, a trustee could mention that, and then maybe that's something that then we could say, okay, fine, let's table it. So that's kind of what was running through my head with this idea. I also like keeping it on Thursday because of the Mondays when it's going to save having to change a lot of meeting dates, which you guys have a lot of that in the last few years because there is more Monday holidays. One question for our illustrious attorney.
Illustrious. He was a trustee a minute ago.
With some of the things that come in front of the board, for instance, ordinance changes, is there any requirement for a waiting time?
No.
No. Once it's discussed, it can be voted on.
And there's also case law that holds that even though an ordinance is written up and presented to you for a vote, you can change it on the fly, still vote on it that night, and I can go back and make the changes that you've authorized and get it in front of the mayor for a signature.
Okay. Thank you.
Again, it provides us also, like you said, Jim, the luxury of holding it to the next meeting.
That's right.
But I think the intention was that when something is pretty much agreed upon, you could vote on it right after you discuss it. You can call for a vote, a motion, and approve it and move on to another item.
John, with doing it this way, and again, let's just pick on the things that are here. We get to the time when we're going to actually vote, and I've got a discomfort level. Should we make a motion to table to the next meeting?
So I think the goal would be, let's build a consensus while you're talking openly about it, whether you're comfortable or not. If that isn't clear, or you have a division of trustees, some who want to move forward, some who don't, then someone can say motion to approve this ordinance. And a second, if someone makes a motion to table, that would actually trump that pending motion, and you would consider that first.
And then that automatically moved to the next meeting?
If it's voted on and approved.
Assuming that, the motion to table was approved.
And I would say the history of this board has been when someone's not comfortable voting, they defer to that member unless someone's starting to be obstructionist or something, and,
And again, the intention is to postpone to gather more information, to get better educated, then I think we have that luxury to do that. If it's just a matter that you didn't like the way the vote was going, I would say we'd hope we take the vote, but that's...
And you used the right term there. We postpone it. We do not table it. If you table it, you're going to bring it back up that night.
Yes.
So,
yes.
postpone it. You know
I
I'm a stickler on that, John.
Clerk school.
I just think
Really
that,
paying off.
there's a lot of...
This clerk school's,
Any other... Sorry. Yes, I'm looking over there and you're talking.
I think this gentleman this evening was a perfect example that's trying to open the store. I was at that development committee, economic development committee, and at the end, he thought that was the village board meeting. Like he had thought he had finished. He was ready to start opening his business. And when we talk about streamlining that process, if we could have told him tonight, yes or no, but he leaves here again in limbo. And then I think when people talk about streamlining the new businesses I think that would help improve that and get answers to them.
It's a very good point.
Yeah, I think we'll be far more efficient.
Anything else? If not,
I just have
and
one.
from the public, you're not the public.
No.
But you could talk.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
So to Trustee Addington's comment about, do you want to have all the voting to take place kind of in a block at the end, one by one, after you've considered everything? Or do you want to vote as it appears on the agenda? That would affect how we prepare the agendas.
I have a recommendation.
Like consensus, what would...
I will say I've been in many other communities presenting for developers that will have the option of doing first readings and second readings, and if they're approving it that night, they consider it, and then they vote on it, and then they move to the next topic.
So that they can leave if they...
Do they?
Yeah, I mean...
Something just popped in my head, again, going back, unfortunately, to when we had, and it would be nice to have that problem again where this TIF does what we think, and I've got 15 developers that have good projects. Do you want to make that person wait as a separate item later in the agenda to hear the vote? I mean, they're all sitting here with all their people. Or do you want to listen to the presentation? If we're comfortable, you vote, they know they're done.
I'm okay with that.
I would think, a lot of meetings I've been involved in, that's what you do. You address it, you have your public hearing, and then you vote on it right away.
Yeah. Because otherwise, you're going to hold all those people forever.
Much more efficient.
Yeah.
We've, combined a number of meetings, and that's exactly what we did. We would, the agenda item would come up, and then we would vote on it.
And the safety valve has always been if one trustee had a problem with it,
Right, then we.
Vote on it.
You honored it and you
we honored it and went on
postponed
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it
And
didn't
we
need a
just said-
majority, it was one trustee had a problem,
Right.
we waited.
And I would hope we continue that. Manager Searle, you were going to.
I just want to, it was more of a form question, and maybe the attorney can answer this, having more experience with other communities, but would you list ordinances as the first reading the first time they come on? Just for reference purposes, like if you went
Sure.
back to look at the agenda.
You can do that.
And you might vote on it, but it's still the first reading.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense.
That's what I envisioned, that's why I.
And sometimes, members of the public are going to want feedback. Is this going to get voted on tonight? And, that's something we'll feel out over time, how comfortable you guys are. I would say, for example, everything on the agenda tonight is straightforward. These ordinances aren't complicated. It'll be my job to get them to you earlier than 4 o'clock on Thursday before a meeting, so you have time to look them over and.
And again, from the public standpoint, it's 48-hour notice, everything's online, so I don't think they're going to be able to prepare before if they've got a question. I like that format. And like you said, looking at tonight's agenda, we would have probably voted on every one of them.
Yeah.
If this does go forward, then we want to make sure that everybody's aware of the process, because there's, like Harold was saying, that, there seems to be some confusion in the community about the process. And we have a golden opportunity now to clarify that and how this is going to work. So let's take advantage of that and get it out to everybody.
Totally agree, and I think as the, on our agenda mentions, this wouldn't go into effect. Of course, we're going to put it on the agenda for Monday and vote on it, not till July 18th. From that point on, then we'd have it every other Thursday.
Well, and I think we can probably mention it from now until then and keep reminding people at our board meetings that this is coming. And it'll actually be easier for the public, because now it's every other week.
Too.
Yes.
Yes.
The neighbors.
Yeah.
And neighbors. Yeah.
Anybody in the public that would like to comment? And trustees, if not, then it will also be on the agenda for Monday evening.
Works for me.
The last item under new business, the voluntary retirement separation agreement. Manager Searle?
Again, this is similar to what we had at the last meeting, where occasionally we have an employee that becomes eligible for retirement and will enter into a voluntary separation agreement. Oftentimes, this will give us an opportunity to do some restructuring in that particular department to hopefully streamline things and make things work a little more efficiently. So that is essentially exactly the same situation that we had the last set of meetings. This is a separate employee, separate agreement.
Any trustee? I think we've got the information in front of us. No questions of public. This also will be placed on the agenda for Monday night. Under miscellaneous, is there anything else that we need to discuss? Then again, I will entertain a motion. I think we need to go into executive session, and from what I understand, it is involving threatening litigation and?
Threatened litigation and union collective bargaining.
Collective bargaining.
Is that the proper term?
Yes, and if I may specify, because we are required to do so now, the threatened litigation is by School District 201 regarding the establishment of a downtown TIF district.
Thank you.
Motion?
Motion by
Addington to go into executive session?
Addington.
Second, Scott.
Seconded by Scott. Roll call, please.
Trustee Addington.
Yes.
Trustee Barry.
Yes.
Trustee Seneca.
Yes.
Trustee Barker.
Yes.
Trustee Nero.
Yes.
Trustee Scott.
Yes.
And I do have to say, we'll adjourn executive session, and there will not be any further business after executive session other than adjournment. Thank you.